Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're continuing our focus on the raid on the judges, especially with recent comments from the NJC, the reports from the presidency about what actually transpired, and the judges themselves. Mr. Muyiwa Sobo is a legal practitioner. He's given us an example in terms of what obtains, where he practiced for a while in the US and what he sees happening here. Well, you've said that the process with which you acquire evidence, if you don't comply with the due process, if you get that evidence rightly or wrongly, no matter how valid it is, it will be unacceptable. It can't be tendered in court in the US where you practiced.
Inadmissible.
But back here, you spoke about the fact that on what grounds did they do this raid? Don't forget, let's look at the DSSS. We've been monitoring them for 7 months. And then the NJC statement also reminds us that there's been petitions from some members of the public against these judges, which they are also investigating. Does that answer the question about why or what prompted them to be monitored in the first place?
No, it may answer that. Okay, well, maybe there was a petition. Let me refer to what the Vice President said. Look, no one is supporting corruption when we raise these issues of civil liberties. What diminishes us more is just overlooking small things that matters when it comes to protection of rights. Two wrongs cannot make a right. Now, if there are bases, reasonable basis for monitoring these judicial officers, and you have, again, let's look at why a search warrant in the first place is to prevent destruction of evidence. So if somebody wrote a petition in April of this year, and you are monitoring the judge and stuff like that and stuff, one, you have other alternatives. It happened in Ghana, where they went after some judicial officers. But before they did that, you know what they have? Video evidence, voice recordings, and so on and so forth, that shows that these people actually were corrupt officers. The fact that somebody just whisper in your ear and say, "No, this is Judge. He has a Rolls Royce in his garage, or he has money in his," those to me will not. It may form an opinion, but not a legal basis.
So are you saying that the actions of the DSS have negated the reports they received about the corrupt practices of these judges?
In Nigeria, maybe not. But somewhere else. You see, what I run into when I was trying to obtain my license here to practice law, was so many areas that are just so disturbing. And when I raised the issue, people was like, don't worry, this is Nigeria. I mean, where things are done right, do they have two heads there or four eyes? No. And if we look and say, well, we are practicing democracy just like they do over there, we've got to put certain things in place fundamentally. The fact that you respect people's privacy and rights doesn't cut down on law enforcement. It actually enhances law enforcement.
Okay, let's get to Mark. She's got a question. Mark,
Oh, thank you, Chamberlain. First question, we have to ask, how rampant is the accusation of corruption in Nigeria's judiciary? From what we hear, it's quite rampant. We've been discussing corruption in the judiciary for quite a while. And then when we also look at the actions of the NJC, 2 maybe certain weeks before this action of the DSS, don't you think that there was sufficient grounds for the DSS to have taken the actions that it took?
Again, my point, I'm not supporting the NJC or the DSS, I'm just putting a perspective in place here. That the fact that we don't follow certain due process that protects people from unreasonable searches and seizure undermines the fight against corruption. Yes, it may be rampant. It may be a wide practice of corruption in the judiciary. But the reason why you have laws is to provide guidelines, certain guidelines that for enforcement of the law. Here, our Constitution actually provides for right to privacy, right against inhumane treatment. Those are the things that must inform our approach to law enforcement. I know people, we talk about this in public, and they say, well, this corruption. Look, every sector of Nigeria is assumed to be corrupt. It's just as simple as that. And like, I think it was Olisa Agbakoba who said, well, how about other sectors where you have corruption? Do you go and break down doors and so? So if you don't follow that due process, it undermines what you want to achieve in fighting corruption. It will put in people's mind doubts as to your intention. And when people now doubt your intention, it actually crashes everything that you want to achieve. Right now, because of what happened, people are saying, well, this is retaliatory. It's only because the judges ruled against certain people and there's political expediency and so on and so forth. And you want to foreclose those arguments by following the law, by doing things right. They could have invited these judges for questioning and even arrest them when they show up. Okay? Now we have foreclosed all these arguments that we are talking about. So DSS owes us that explanation. What is the exigent circumstances in this to kind of cause you to do this? If they explain that, they say, well, last night somebody called us and said this judge is going to burn this currency in his possession, and that's our evidence. Now remember that any case relies on evidence, an eyewitness account. Okay? If somebody gave you a statement 6 months ago, and based on that you now think it's exigent or of an emergency nature to go, the danger to our democracy is in that doubt that you will put in people's mind. Some folks may look at you and say, yeah, they deserve it. But wait till it happens to you. But and then you know they don't deserve anything like that.
They also know that they've got to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt in court.
Yes.
So while carrying out that raid, wouldn't they be thinking, well, we don't want to do a shoddy job and then get to the court, it falls flat on its face. So we would presume that they may have all this evidence.
Well, let them explain to us. So far, they have not explained anything to my own satisfaction to justify what they've done. And that is, and I want the public to understand that when lawyers raise these issues, it's not because they're supporting corruption. Lawyers exist to uphold the law. They are law enforcement officers. They're officers of the court. We uphold the law, but in doing so, you have to think about this issue of civil liberties and due process.
I think there's a second part to Mark's question. Mark?